Hello friends, happy Tuesday. Amy C. Willis here. I wanted to pop on today and share a little bit about my story and my journey to becoming a health coach and kind of where I've been in order to get where I am today. So what inspired this sharing was a coaching session that I had recently at HCI Live, which is the Health Coach Institute's semi-annual conference. So I had this really deep, really clarifying coaching session with an awesome success coach named Priscilla. So Priscilla, if you happen to see this, thank you so much. I honestly, it was such a powerful experience, and it really was a highlight for me in the conference, getting to meet with you and work with you. So thank you. I actually recorded another video similar to this right after my coaching session with Priscilla, but for whatever reason it didn't load onto my Instagram TV, and so I'm just going with it. So I decided to create another video. So here we are. So I'm a little bit further now from HCI Live than I was the first time I did this video, but we're still gonna go with it. I feel like reflection is also really powerful. So yeah, this is my take on what happened. So basically, during that coaching session with Priscilla, I got a lot of clarity around when the start of my journey to becoming a health coach actually started. And surprisingly or not surprisingly, it really began after my father passed away, which in September will be 5 years ago. So that was easily the hardest, most emotional, most intense, most challenging experience I'd ever had in my life. And like, there had already been a significant amount of shit. So that kind of says a lot about what that experience was like for me. I had a really complicated relationship with my dad, and that was not made easier after he passed away. Also, my father was an alcoholic, and I later on also struggled with alcohol use disorder. So that's also something. But basically, after my dad died, under the guise of self-care, and I don't even really think I knew much about self-care, excuse me, prior to that, it just wasn't in my orbit really. But yeah, I gave myself permission to do whatever I needed to do to get through this experience. And for me, what that looked like was a lot of drinking and just being like, I can, because this is super challenging. Nobody understands what I'm going through. And so I'm just going to drink to ease the pain, to numb myself, and to create space between myself and my really intense experiences and emotions, because I did not believe I had the capacity to manage those experiences and emotions. So thank goodness that I also developed real self-care practices along the way as well, like saying no and learning how to prioritize my own needs above everybody else's agendas, and putting boundaries in place and actually holding those boundaries for myself. Those things were not anything I was in the practice of doing, and thank goodness that I had established those things along the way. Unfortunately, it took my dad dying to get to a place where I felt like I could prioritize myself and my needs, but here we are, and like those are the lessons that I took from that. Yeah, so despite the grieving kind of coming to more of a close, my drinking did not. So my alcohol use disorder was like in full swing. And I ended up drinking a lot, and it just kind of kept increasing until I got to a place where I was, very in touch with the fact that this was not going to work for me. And even though nothing terrible had happened in terms of the standardized ways of measuring problematic drinking, so like losing my job or getting a DUI or feeling like rehab was the only option for me to stop, which, you know, are very large external indicators, but like those aren't the only things that tell you that you might have a problem. Anyway, alcohol was slowly ruining my life. It was negatively impacting my mental health. It was impacting my relationships. It was not doing me any favors physically. It was harming my health. It was stealing my life, my creativity, my potential. Anyway, so I eventually got sober, and there will be many more discussions on that. But I feel like watching my father struggle with drinking and not having really any awareness around it was ultimately something that really supported my choice to get sober. It took a while for that to sink in, but seeing my father effectively drink himself to death and then being the person who then had to clean it up, literally, I think really planted a seed in me, even though I went way further with my alcohol use disorder before I eventually realized that I didn't want to go down that path, right? I didn't want my life to become like my dad's. Like, he drank himself to death and he isolated himself, and he was sad and miserable and depressed and was too afraid of change and too afraid of what the truth was to actually make his life any different. And that is really a huge piece that I carry with me now in terms of why I am a health coach, right? And why I specifically work with women who are struggling with their alcohol consumption. So very much women like me who it's ruining their lives and they don't know how to get out of it. So that's why I, have developed a program specifically for those women, because I know that change is possible. I have made that change in my life. I know the steps to get there, and I want to be the person for other women that I wished that I had had for myself, but I didn't at the time. And, entering into recovery or sobriety or non-drinking or whatever language you want to put around it can be a really big thing. And not having the support and the accountability and the structure and the system in place can make it challenging, and it doesn't have to be that hard, even though it is hard. So that's what I get to provide as a health coach. I think that had my dad not died and had I not learned self-care, I actually don't know where I would be. I would probably still be drinking. I definitely wouldn't be a health coach. I may or may not have my other wellness business. I can say for sure I would not have the clarity, the perspective, the creativity, the level of health, the level of presence that I have in my life now, if it weren't for my dad dying. So even though it was the most terrible thing that has happened to me so far in my life, it is also something that I have so much gratitude for. And I think the takeaway here is sometimes your biggest challenge can in fact be your greatest gift. So I will leave you with that, and also with the message that change is possible, and you do not have to accept the road that you are on. Your life can be totally different, and sometimes you just need a little support to get there. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.